For months, the world watched a brutal grind, a seemingly unstoppable Russian force pushing its way across the eastern plains, betting on sheer mass and attrition. But then, the air changed. The explosions got smarter, the targets became indispensable, and one by one, the strategic pillars of Russia's front line began to crumble. This wasn't just a military failure. This was a blueprint, a carefully orchestrated strategy executed with surgical precision, fueled by a secret flow of technology, intelligence, and targeting data few outside the Pentagon even grasp. This is the story of the silent collapse and the American aid that pulled the trigger. The Russian doctrine, forged in the frozen logic of the Cold War, was simple: mass and attrition. Overwhelm the enemy with superior numbers, endless artillery fire, and expendable reserves. In the early months of the conflict, this terrifying logic held true. The front line became a meat grinder, trading lives for inches of territory. The defenders were running low on ammunition, their logistics stretched thin, but their spirit remained unbroken. The critical turning point wasn't a troop surge. It was a classified, high-level meeting in Washington, D.C. The objective wasn't to fight Russia's army head-on, but to decapitate it, to render its vast artillery park blind and its commanders deaf. The conventional flow of equipment, rifles, helmets, standard ammo, was only the noise. The real difference was the whisper of intelligence and the delivery of tools engineered for one purpose: precision shock. The war's ultimate weakness is logistics. Russia relies on massive railheads and slow-moving truck convoys to feed its massive appetite for artillery shells. The Pentagon knew hitting the front line directly was too costly. The solution? HIMARS, the M142 high-mobility artillery rocket system. Its arrival was not just the delivery of a new weapon, it was the integration of a new battlefield philosophy. HIMARS systems, guided by highly accurate GPS and constant U.S. satellite intelligence, weren't targeting trenches. They were targeting command and control centers 50 miles behind the lines. They were vaporizing railway junctions used to offload ammo. They were obliterating the forward operating bases where officers slept. The secret wasn't just the rocket, it was the timing. The instant U.S. intelligence confirmed a high-value target, a major fuel depot or a general's HQ, HIMARS was ready to strike within minutes. This forced Russian command staff to move hundreds of miles away, paralyzing their decision-making. The ability to control the skies is the defining factor of modern warfare. Russia's advantage was its dense network of Soviet-era S-300 and S-400 surface-to-air missile systems. They created a dome that grounded the opposing air force. The U.S. secret countermeasure was a highly classified package of capabilities focused on SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses. Enter the AGM-88 HARM missile. These are not just missiles, they are radar hunters. Delivered secretly and integrated onto older non-NATO airframes, the HARM missiles began systematically dismantling the Russian air defense grid. But this was only possible because of the electronic intelligence, ELINT, provided by the U.S. Every time a Russian radar system powered up, even for a second, its precise location was instantaneously logged, analyzed by U.S. assets, and relayed to the HARM pilots. This constant, high-fidelity data flow meant the Russian air defense was fighting blind against an enemy that already knew its exact coordinates. The most critical, and least reported, American aid wasn't steel and explosives, it was information. This is the true secret behind the collapse. The U.S. intelligence community began sharing an unprecedented level of information. Near real-time target packages drawn from a constellation of satellites, aerial surveillance, and SIGINT, signals intelligence. This meant that the defenders didn't have to guess where the enemy reserves were forming. They knew. They didn't have to estimate where the artillery shell was fired from. They had the exact coordinates. This information flow dubbed a sensor-to-shooter loop, slashed the time it took to identify a target and launch a counterstrike from hours to mere minutes. It was like giving a chess player the ability to see 2 moves ahead into their opponent's mind. The Russian military machine, built on rigid communication protocols, was suddenly transparent to its enemy. This ghost in the machine stripped the Russian front line of its most vital resource: surprise. The cumulative effect of this precision targeting was devastating. Logistics crumbled, command structures vanished, and the protective air umbrella dissolved. What follows is not a dramatic single-day defeat, but a slow, inevitable collapse. Without a functioning supply chain, troops on the front line run out of fuel, food, and most critically, ammunition.